On a bright and sunny day in 1986, 27 children, along with their 3 teachers, got onto their school bus for a field trip to a nearby science museum. It was supposed to be an exciting educational adventure for the kids and something they remember for the rest of their lives. And the other driven by Freddie, a random substitute driver who'd been hired for the trip. Edward drove his bus full of kids straight back to the school as planned. However, Freddie's bus never arrived. As time passed by, it was first 30 minutes, then an hour, then 2 hours, and still there was no sign of Freddie or his students. Everyone started to get really scared and worried because this wasn't like Freddie to be late or take the kids somewhere else. The kids were divided evenly between the 2 buses. And after everyone had a fantastic time at the museum, the buses headed back to the school. Why did someone do what they did? In the case of the missing children from Hopewell, the police have never been able to establish a motive. The children could have been kidnapped by a single person or by a group. The police did find some tire tracks near where the bus was abandoned, but these tracks were never matched to a specific vehicle. They also found some fingerprints on the bus, but these fingerprints never turned up in any criminal databases. The police have been very tight-lipped about the details of the case and have only released very limited information to the media. Some people may be afraid of retaliation from the killer or killers, while others may simply be afraid of the media attention that would come with providing information in a high-profile case. In recent years, the case has been taken over by a special task force of experienced detectives who are using new technology to re-examine the evidence. They are hoping to use new DNA testing techniques to identify any suspects and to bring this case to a resolution. This fear has created a wall of silence in the community, and it has made it very difficult for the police to piece together what happened to the missing children. The bus was transported to a secure facility where forensic experts are currently working to recover any potential evidence. This lack of information has led to a lot of speculation and rumors, but it has also made it very difficult for anyone to come forward with any helpful information. The discovery of the bus has reignited interest in the case, and many residents are hoping that this development will lead to answers after all these years. While authorities are yet to confirm whether or not the bus was indeed the one that went missing in 1986, they believe it to be a strong possibility based on its condition and location. This lack of physical evidence has made it very difficult to connect any particular individual to the crime scene. They have set up a dedicated tip line for this case and are offering a reward for any information leading to the identification of the person or persons responsible for the children's disappearance. They could have been taken to a remote location, or they could be buried in a shallow grave somewhere near the bus route. The discovery was made on Tuesday during a routine traffic stop when police officers noticed a manhole cover that appeared to be slightly misaligned. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to share for more updates on this and other similar cases. The discovery of the bus offers a glimmer of hope that justice may finally be served. As the investigation unfolds, the country waits with bated breath for answers. Upon further inspection, the officers discovered a large object buried beneath the cover. This lack of concrete evidence has made it very difficult to narrow down the search area and to find the bodies of the missing children. You can also check out the podcast called Bear Brug, which covers this case in great detail. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to share if you enjoyed it. We will catch you in the next one. This makes it very difficult to narrow down the list of suspects or to figure out what happened to the children. For example, if the crime was committed by a stranger, then the motive could be anything from abduction for ransom to murder. However, if the crime was committed by someone close to the victim, such as a family member or friend, then the motive could be much more complex. Unfortunately, in this case, the police are still in the dark about why the children were taken off the bus in this. is still one of the biggest obstacles in solving the case. It had its engine problems, but the most disturbing thing was that all 15 kids and the driver were nowhere to be seen. But even after 39 years, the case remains unsolved and the killer has never been found. So here is what we know about the case and why it is still unsolved even after all this time. If the children were taken by a stranger, then it's likely that they were abducted for ransom or for sexual purposes. However, if the children were taken by someone that they knew, then the motive for the crime could be anything from child abuse to murder. Unfortunately, this case has never been solved, and the police still don't know for sure what happened to the children. The police were called in, and they launched a huge investigation, but it seemed like every lead was leading to a dead end. But instead, it became one of the darkest days in the history of the small town of Hopewell. After arriving at the museum, the group split up into two buses, one driven by the school's principal, Edward, but soon enough, a terrifying nightmare began unfolding. A search party was quickly put together, and they found Freddie's bus abandoned on the side of the road. On May 21st, 1986, 27 students, along with 3 teachers from a local elementary school, boarded 2 buses for a field trip to the Science Museum of Virginia in Richmond. At the museum, the group split up into 2 buses. One was driven by Edward and the other by Freddie. After a fun day at the museum, both buses were supposed to return to the school at around 4:30 p.m., but as the evening went on, it became clear that something was wrong. Edward's bus arrived back at the school at around 5:30 p.m., but there was no sign of Freddie or his bus. By 7 p.m., the police were called in after a massive search effort failed to locate the missing children or the bus. Days turned into weeks, and the case went from being a missing persons investigation to a murder investigation. First of all, let's take a look at the timeline of events to get a better understanding of the case. One of the most important pieces of evidence in any criminal case is the motive. Another obstacle in solving this case is the fact that there are so many different possibilities as to what could have happened. The physical evidence in this case is also very limited. One of the theories that the police have been looking into is whether or not the children were taken off the bus by a stranger or by someone that they knew. One of the main reasons that this case has remained unsolved for so long is that there is very little information available to the public. Another reason that this case has remained unsolved is that many people in the small town of Hopewell are afraid to come forward with any information. While the police have never caught the person or persons responsible for taking the children off the bus, they haven't given up hope. If you're interested in learning more about this case, I'd recommend checking out some of the resources that I used in this video. In an unexpected turn of events, the school bus that disappeared with 15 children on board in 1986 has been found buried in a shallow grave in Prince George County, Virginia. Authorities immediately launched an investigation, and after several hours of digging, they uncovered a school bus that matched the description of the one that had gone missing over 3 decades ago. Virginia State Police spokeswoman Michelle Cotton said, "This is a significant development in a decades-old missing person cold case." Hopewell Police Chief Anita V. Thomas expressed her condolences to the families of the missing children, acknowledging the impact this case has had on the community over the years. As the investigation continues, authorities urge anyone with information to come forward and contact the police. The story of the missing children from Hopewell is a tragic one that has captivated the nation. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you think the discovery of the bus will lead to answers? Let us know in the comments below.